Okay. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Welcome to today's lecture, everyone. I've decided for today's lecture to record it on my laptop. Like, I don't know how good the audio is. Are you hearing this? Okay. I think it should be like audible, guys, right? I'm not sure of the laptop settings, but anyways. Today, there we go. Okay, the viewers can see it, right? So let me see. How does this come across? Okay, so far so good. Okay. Today's episode is going to be a long one. I will explain to you why I'm here giving this lecture in this moment and what really inspires me. It's like a hobby of mine to kind of wake up every day and wonder about what is moving in reality and how has it moved that I don't know about, and how will it move that I don't know about, and how is it moving that I don't know about. It's really what I don't know about the moment that is becoming a purpose. Like, seek the meaning of the moment. There we go. Okay. 14. It's a little too big, but whatever. Should be okay. It's okay. I can even make it bigger. 16. All right. So, so let's do this. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to a lecture, okay, on researching the great movements of the human species so far. I could have, yeah, so far. So, this lecture is about what does it mean to research great human movements. So, right off the bat, I can dive into this by communicating to you that we don't give movement the credit it's due. It seems to me that the current civilization has been conditioned to value nouns, known nouns, more than unknown verbs. Yet it is an unknown verb. Okay, so deep down, whoever, like people listening to me, you're in two classes. You're either treating the world as a known noun or it's an unknown verb. Okay, now what does this mean? So okay, so let's dive it down. So what is research? We have to, so here I'll write it. So in order to uh, comprehend this statement, we must comprehend its elements. So something they don't teach, and this is something I don't know. I don't know why I do this. I just do this. I treat conception inside. I treat a context like a system where the concepts found in that context are like the elements of that system, right? So this right now, it doesn't matter if you put a person in front of me, a sentence in front of me, whatever in front of me, I will look at it and I will contextualize it in a system, and I will wonder about how its elements behave and how conscious are they of the context. You see, we are the only species, as far as we know, that was a concept that became conscious of its context beyond how its context was shaped. That means a squirrel can't comprehend reality beyond its existential position, but the human being can comprehend reality. There was this YouTube video that showed this squirrel, guys, right? This video blew my mind. Like, I learned something. Like, people think like social media and these Instagram shorts and all of this is kind of like nonsense, right? Like brain rotting, but it's actually um like, imagine like a person eats so many different kinds of food every day to figure out what kind of food they like, you know. Anyways, so in order to comprehend the statement, the value of this statement, we must comprehend its elements. We must treat the phrase, the sentence, as a system, and the concepts inside sentence as elements of the system. This is very important. I am not teaching, communicating to the audience as a member of the human species how much I see so far, right? That means if I try my best and then you see my best and then you judge, then it's very valid. But as long as I could do better, like, you can't judge me. It's like, hey man, it's like, who do you think you're judging? You're judging a noun in your mind, not realizing the world is a known verb. So, anyways, I'm going to highlight this. This whole lecture is on this. Okay, this is the top great movements of the human species so far. I'm saying, like, if it doesn't matter anything, like I've had my, I have a. If you saw me as a warrior, I have been involved in the language wars very early, like after 2014, in a ridiculous way. That means if you wonder about how many human beings are communicating in ways we've seen before or ways we haven't, like, I don't know how to explain it to me. We have these, like, we have built a society for clones, but we're not clones. This is the honest view. That's why when the soul is born on earth, they're like, look at this kid trying to fit into the world. What does that mean? That means we were born as something unique and different, and yet we have to fit into this system, opt into this value system to be acknowledged by other values in that system that we require for survival. To me, it is, how can I tell you? It's like when you have a mind, you're not just limited to your body. If You're not just limited to the access of this moment. So imagine I create, like, what's the difference between a camera, that's recording something, and let's say human memory. Okay, when I look at human right now, it's like my camera imagine my brain is a camera. Okay, imagine human brains are like a camera. Okay, so imagine right now I'm a camera speaking to you. In the same way, I'm a camera that is recording my environment, and then based on what I have access to as not a body in a world but as a mind in an unknown world, in an unknown place, I am telling you, it's way more fascinating. This world is like, look at how many ways there are to look at it, but then look at the human species limited to only specific looping modalities. You don't understand. It's like, don't invade us. Even if they were, if God had created them, the reason they don't invade us is because there is no value right now to living in a simulation. It's child's play. That means they're like, yo, man, why don't you want to see aliens? Are you afraid? It's like, no, I'm not afraid. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for our species. Like, it's embarrassing right now. Global, like the story of human civilization right now is embarrassing compared to what it actually has a potential. Because you have to wonder about why we have a mind here that can see something more than what's existing now. So going back to the camera metaphor, if I was a camera right now, it's like the moment I move on from recording this, it becomes a saved file. And memories are like saved files. Okay, but the camera net it does shut off when we go into deep sleep. But every morning we wake up, it's like, we don't need somebody to shout action. Our consciousness is engaged reality. So, oh my god. All right. Sorry, guys, the screen had changed. You need to just see the screen now if you're driving. So it's very important for me to continue here. So we must treat the sentence as a system and the concepts inside the sentence as elements of the system. So right now, what are the concepts we find here? Researching, okay. Then we have, what does great mean? What does movements mean? What does, oh my God. So sorry about that, guys. I'm choosing to not try to show my identity because the concepts are more important. Um, and there's something so much more important than any of us here. And it is the task of our species to discover. And we're in that process where the world is day you wake up from the world, something in that same world, something new has arrived. That's the nature of reality. Like people die and new people arise. You see, that's the game of life. In 2025, people are thinking they are living their best lives, but you're not living in the prototype. And at some point, they're like, "Let's blame the past, for its cruelty," and I can't because they didn't know better. That is the nature of reality. To appreciate the true presence of the moment, to understand that every moment and our awareness to reality is a blessing. It doesn't matter where you're attending an existential, but you're attending it in an experientially unknown way, and it is the task. That means on some level, what happens? I think there's two types of pathways. They don't speak about this, and they don't even show this in media. The task of media is to make us should be to make us aware what is important in civilization. Do you know how when the advancement of the civilization exciting thing that can happen in that civilization? You understand? It's as if, let me tell you, you're listening to someone who, in his realms, you're like, yo, man, have you met chaos in the outer realms, right? Or chaos in the inner realms? I will say, like, the system admin is merciful. It's merciful that in your outer realms, you are protected, but are you protected in your inner realms? And for me, it was life has been the burden of life has been the awareness of it. That means we knew more than the others as other species, and therefore we have entered an era of human design. We are living inside our own ideas and acting like it's normal. To me, I people probably like I'm right now. I'm at that phase in my life where if people don't understand me, I'm like I'm not. I'll be more surprised if you do. That means your design is your rule. That means if I'm designed as a human being, doesn't mean I should act like a robot, like a looping robot. And like truly wonder about, like, researching the great movements of the human species so far. Well, guess what? Every conscious soul has been researching how reality has moved so far. Do you know what intelligence means? And what if you start from a moment where you're like, all right, man, there's space. How do I value space? Okay, it's just a place. It's an invisible place. You're like grilling someone. Tell me, what is space? It's like, can you imagine they make? Oh my god, this would be incredible. Like intelligence agencies grilling like next level scientists. What does space mean? Tell us, man. Nobody knows. Tell us. What does dark mean? And the scientist is like freaking out. I don't know, man. It's theoretical physics. I made fun of the theists, but realities, the me. You understand? The nature of the way your attention is present is how reality has. So in the lecture, when I'm saying researching the great movements of the human species so far, you as a conscious being have been researching all the movements you have perceived so far in life. They have been compartmentalized. Do you know
For example, Napoleon Bonaparte, this French emperor, right? This guy had an ability to sleep on the spot. People were like, what the heck? This isn't even normal. Napoleon wanted instantly, like he didn't have to fall asleep. You understand? And in his inner realms, he would compartmentalize reality as a giant drawer. Like this guy was so genius that behind it had the same organizational structure as drawers in a closet. Every drawer, every task of his life in a specific drawer. What is the courage of your lifetime? That means like the ego knows it has a hidden power. You know, human beings right now are treating reality as if an idea owns you. That means I come and ask you. That means if they put a bunch of letters in front of me and I read these letters, that sound has become your identity. You understand? That means we have created ourselves, but we are not the system admin inside of simulation. So when I'm saying researching the great movements here, let me finish this. Then we have the human species, or let's divide that. What is human? What does species mean? And what does so far mean? Guys, that's it. That means I'm saying if I can explain all of these concepts within this sentence, I have fulfilled the lecture. If I can, in some sense, wonder about in the same way planets alive, it's the birthday of the solar system, it's like concepts align in a sentence, and there you go. Meaning has been accessed. Isn't it funny? Any word you don't know, if you read a sentence, it's like meaning of that sentence is like accessed it. So to me, what language is how reality um, creates to identify with this two-dimensional body. That body, no. So the elements are elements of this sentence. Sentences. So like an element is researching is a, to me at least it is researching goals, wondering about what is beyond action. So, what does greatness mean? It means simply the ultimate person you have managed to, you've done something that is, I guess, beyond the status quo's imagination. That's truly, I think that's like, can I tell you? It's like, what is the difference between a genius moment and a miracle? The next element is movement. Actually, we can do it like this. I would say that movement is what can happen at all. Again, I want to point your attention to this context, guys. It is divine. I'm not kidding. Any movement is divine. Okay? Because why should there be any movement at all? Astaghfirullah, why is the system admin positioning us in a position where we really unique design? I'm like, okay. Not like, yo, man, you're somewhere and you can be anything you want. Excuse me. No, no, no. I'm in a certain format of a situation. That means before I fathom what freedom meant, was I in my eyes in an existential position that I didn't create. So it's the shell shock of post existence fascination. I'm telling you, it's like imagine you're looking at an empty room. Okay, you're just staring at an empty room, and then you put something in that room. Okay, the room became interesting. Then something began moving. You understand? In the middle of the meaninglessness of, okay, like it's like they're like, okay, what was the state of the cosmos before the Big Bang? It was whatever, bro. You know, it's like, yo, man, the newest scientific theory came out that is the greatest scientific theory ever. Scientific theory of all theories. It's called the what, you know. That means we reach a certain position of our attention where the meaning of us is realized to be limited. Okay, but the fact that there's force that's moving, like you can look at people. Okay, look at how we're even conditioned. I don't know. Podcasting is like being a ninja. Being a public lecturer, that's like being a samurai. It has a different might and different honor, right? But being a podcaster, in some sense, like the greatest value is one is in their privacy, being made public, you know, their privacy, you know. Anyways, where I'm going with this is I'm saying, okay, then you have stuff in space, then stuff started moving, and the way stuff moved in space was very fascinating.
Okay, sorry guys, technical difficulties there. Oh, Jesus Christ. This might have to become a private episode. I don't know. Anyways, or a re-uploaded episode. But anyways, whatever, guys. We do what we can. Okay, guys, the thing's not working. The screen sharing's not working for some reason. I guess I'll just continue the episode. Sorry, guys, I got a lot of tabs open. I was just trying to click on the music tab. To continue, let me see if the share screen might work. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. There we go. So E2.2 movements equal intelligent activity. Why should there be any intelligent activity at all? Or any specific design to the to to the to the shape of existence. That means the fact that existence has a shape is suggesting there was a deeper design beyond the awareness the design we have. Then we go to the third element, which is 3.1. We have the human, we have the species. To be human equals specific biological shape and specific biological shape and function. There we go. Found in and on. There we go. I think I'm saying like we have a specific DNA, specific species. You know what I mean? Like we have fingers. You know, some species have claws. Dolphins, like they can flap, but they don't have fingers. Imagine being an organism purely dependent on your nose for survival. Like that's bizarre. Like so many species, their brains are like being what's it
administering their brain is like how they process the information they receive. Usually, it's unconscious in regards to genetical memory and intelligence. But anyways, so the human, or I can even say the human, is a member of a biological species that has surpassed its ecological, the ecosystem of its arrival. That's what it is. So the human is a member of a biological species that has surpassed the ecosystems, that has far surpassed, that has ideal, that has far surpassed the ecosystem, that has surpassed the ecosystems of its, that has surpassed the ecosystem of its arrival in, how do I say it? It's like, it's difficult to put in words. Okay, it's like, yo, man, what is the human? What does it mean to be human? We're a member of a species, right? We were unconscious of them. We were just reactively leaping, right? Now we were conscious, and now we've stepped and done new things. And by doing new things, we discovered new, uncharted sectors of our mind unlocked by the mere will to wonder about, well, how else can we, what other view is there to the moment's value? You understand? Sometimes when it comes to meaning, it's as if whose meaning should we follow, right? And for me, I am not Muslim because a book is telling me. I am Muslim because I am fascinated by this view that the original power simulated this realm. That means in the same way I didn't create my body just because I think I have a soul that can, command, just because we have a mind that can act like God in a lower dimension doesn't mean right now we're not being the command of God beyond this. So when we wonder about the human, I got to tell you the story of Earth. There was a rock in the middle of nowhere. These creatures were like, whoa, and they couldn't comprehend all of reality. So a massive storytelling operation began. The massive storytelling operation began because consciousness was not satisfied with its findings, and it wondered about what is the true nature of reality. And if you're a being that sincerely has wondered about the true nature of like what's going on here in this whole world, okay, then there is something true within you, and that's another way of saying you're being called upon. For me, I did. If they say how did you become Muslim, I reached a moment in my life where I realized the limitations of the human idea, and I reached a moment where I'm like, okay, there can be infinite viewpoints. Which one? And I realized the being that has access to the infinite multiple choice does not have access to the awareness that created the multiple choice. So to me, a member of a biological species that has surpassed the ecosystem arrival into identifying beyond and beyond being just an object and just a subject. And now the eerie and yet fascinating feeling that the moment the human idea realizes it cannot own the moment because it is a factor in the moment. because an idea is just part of a moment, part of the moment. So, a member of a biological species that has surpassed the ecosystem of its arrival into identifying beyond being just an object, just a subject, and now the eerie and yet fascinating feeling that the moment the human idea realizes it cannot own the whole moment of its being because it exists as just of the moment. We are becoming, or we are returning. I don't know how to say it. The human species, guys, you don't understand. It's hilarious. Like we're experiencing the evolution of consciousness in history. I am telling you, it's hilarious. You know, it's like kids who were raised playing video games. Excuse me, kids who were raised playing video games are sent to wars and they go see war and they're like this, and it's the calling of a virtual reality. In one of my lectures, I was like, you want to stop war? Tell the United Nations to go hire the greatest gaming companies who will make history, right? And these greatest gaming companies come and exactly replicate in like a 3D video game like Generals, like but a way more superior version of it, right? They create a virtual Earth with the virtual military power. Instead of our people going to war, no, we value the souls of humans on this earth way further than, in some sense, the ignorance of what has to be of ideas that are just fractions of the true moment of being. Right? So I'm telling you, it's like fighting robots. I'm not fighting like the ideas that are eclipsing the true advancement of our species. For what is greatness? You discover the heartbeat of your soul beyond the ignorance of your heart. The realization that the human we have known ourselves as, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. So I'm going to finish writing this. The realization that the human we have known ourselves as has been a known simulation inside a world far beyond the processing power of an egoic vision by the human brain. Like it's so bizarre, guys. Like we call it thinking, but think of it this way. You go to the gym, right? So bicep curls or something. By a couple pound flesh called the human brain. Guys, your ego is like your brain's greatest processing compartmentalization. But the issue with living as an entity in an unknown world is that you might be eclipsing the true meaning of reality. That means, like when the food tastes too good, start questioning the reality. You know, feeling as a being. Like when something happens too beyond my fascination of, like you don't understand. If people tell me, I'm you know, I think most people who know me will say that I'm someone who's non-judgmental. And the reason is because before I judge, I am looking at reality and I am seeing, in some sense, what is moving it all. How does intelligence express itself? And behind every person's eyes, what sort of world of meaning and a character in a world, like, like it's hilarious. Right now, did you know there's 8 billion hidden films behind the eyes of everybody? Like, not, no, I mean, like, there's 8 billion, every person behind their eyes, their whole life, that they have access to. It is only in regards to express given a choice. You know, what they don't tell you is that courage and bravery is a choice. Advancement is a choice. God is a choice. To be a self in a world is a choice. We choose it. Why? Because everybody's chosen it and the sheep. But at the same time, are we sheep? Exactly. Wondering why you don't feel satisfied with the world we're living in. You know, and it's like imagine a lion, that was raised among sheep. And then his lion's like, they're like, yo, man, it's like our weird sheep is fasting over here. You know what I mean? And the lion's like, it's fine, right? And the sheep are like, you're crazy, you know? And so it's like, this is the whole story of the lion, right? The lion king, but this is the true story of the lion king, not the Disney stuff. This is like next level. Like, this is like if you want king archetypes, this is the true story. Actually, my laptop doesn't have that much battery. Okay, so pretty much the true story of the Lion King is that this king was like walking at the edges of his kingdom, and he realizes that in some sense there is somewhere, in some sense he notices the fence and he discovers the sheep and the right. And to the Lion King, in some sense, it's like a conqueror mentality, like even like far more savage than Genghis Khan. It's as if the world is my territory, right? So a king is walking in his own kingdom, right? And in a part of his kingdom, he in some sense sees a lion, like a grown lion, right? Standing at the center of sheep. You understand? Like standing in the middle of a sheep herd and he's just staring at the grass, right? And then the Lion King comes by the fence and the farmer was like, I don't know, like sleeping or something. You know, the Lion King comes to the looks at it and says, Lion, Lion of those sheep. Like imagine the king, like a king, like the king, guys, is an archetype that it's like a coin. One side, well, it's the kingdom. What the kingdom is. So this Lion King is like, yo, lion, like, what are you doing? Why are you standing in the middle of those sheep, right? And it's like this lion presence. Do you know what I mean? And all the sheep run away, but this lion in the middle of the sheep is not scared. And the lion walks close to the fence, and I said, what did he say? Sorry, he says lion standing in the middle, right? And the lion doesn't respond. But then he says, we, like all the sheep look and all the sheep run away, but something to that lion who was standing in the middle of the sheep feels like testing, right? And so he goes up to the lion. The lion says, weird sheep, what are you doing? Thinking you're weird. No, I'm sorry, I'm getting this story wrong. The lion just sees this lion, right? And he understands what's going on and he says, follow me, weird sheep. You know, I am the king of this whole land. So, and so the Lion King takes this weird sheep lion, this lion that thinks it's a sheep, right? And he says, he takes him by this pond and he says, look at my reflection. What do you see? Right? And the lion says, I see a lion. King, I see a lion. Right? And in some sense, the Lion King says, look at your own reflection. What do you see? I'm sorry, I'm getting the story wrong. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. The Lion King says to the. So we go to species. E3.2, the human species, collective intelligence. The full range of activity of of all. And then we have the fourth element so far. Of the expression of our species. No, no. Okay, let's just keep it up. What is the further awareness of the expression of our species? Honestly, let's keep it like this. Okay. So, guys, in accordance to this, so it's another way we are wondering, I guess, conclusion one. We are wondering. I have this conclusion. Con- we are wondering what is the greatest movement of the human species? What is the most advanced state of human experience? What is the most advanced collective expression of a species where individuals no longer just live? What is the most advanced collective expression of where individuals their response to the potential greatness of their species guys, pretty much I'm saying that I'm concluding. So this whole lecture, I'm pretty much like saying like, okay, anything moving at all in like empty space in space is like that's in, we can consider that. Now there's layers to intelligence where there's the intelligent physical movement or a non-fictional physical movement. That's what is giving meaning, or what the meaning of this like non-fiction is only non-fiction because there's a fictional contrast to the meaning. What that means is when you have one work of art and a bunch of people looking at it, that one work of art is one external existential phenomena at it, and it means something else to them. Why? Because every person, in some sense, is living in their own self simulated meaning. And the simplest way to think about this is imagine every person you meet, they're inside a sphere. Like they're inside a sphere, okay? And most humans are their sphere. I've seen this. It's realizing how primitive we're still living. Whose meaning, whose value to the actual value of reality of all of this. And how do we research the great movements of the human species? Is a realization of for the win-win-win. In all dimensions, we win. Why? Because we chose to have an advanced standard. It means I think it's healthier to be upset cars don't exist yet, you know, or teleportation doesn't exist yet. Like being upset about that is healthier. And a looping egoic construct. See, Pretty much, it's like, okay, we're asking what are the great movements of the human species. So first we look at the design, and it's like that's the human part. We're like, okay, it's this biological organism. The body's like a bell curve, right? You experience, let's say, you're more energetic when you're younger than when you're older, because when you're older, the nature of reality has transformed. A couple of change is not easy, right? That means a lot of people are not strangers to a changing world. None of us are, but it is the nature of what governs the value. So for me, when I open my eyes in the morning, I'm like, okay, again, the value proposition of the day. I have logged into this system where human beings need to in order to psychological exist. And they're trying to psychologically exist because there's a behind our eyes that only we and you can't blame people for yawning to be found. But who are you really? And this is where the mystery meets the moment where the unknown becomes known in purpose. Purpose is the of like for me. If they're like, okay, man, I've been tired. Like, okay, let me give you an example. There's been moments I've been so exhausted. I'm like, man, I should just go sleep. And a sentence has arose to me that this sentence is too fascinating. And it's not just a sentence, it's an access to a view. And what is view? The nature of how it acknowledges the format of reality. That means before there's ethics, there's design. We human beings are design conscious, and we separate the design that distinguishes us from others because the no nature of being the self. Like whenever a person says, "Yeah, man, it's me. I'm being me," right? Like that self. And what I'm trying to say is that behind our eyes, we are there's an inner life and there's an outer life. This whole time. Okay? The inner life is a private server. People can't read your mind, right? Why? Because it's a private way. It's like different DNA. Think of it this way: we're positioned. And advancement means when will every human being look at the stars? Just look at the vast and wonder about how advanced we all can be. It's a hilarious thing. Advancement is such a pure concept that, like, even if your ego tries to be advanced, it's gonna realize. Let's say your ego became advanced. Like, let's say right now I became the most advanced being. I wouldn't be able to know I'm the most advanced being if I'm not. That means the only way I can know how advanced of a being I am is if everybody is advanced and the whole world is advanced, and we've in some sense of the advancement in all the acknowledged dimensions that lead to translating reality and seeing it as factors for the moment. To me, it's very fascinating. In the same way you can look at an object from different views, you can in some sense wonder about how a subject can be seen differently. But for a subject, it has to do with the position of the concept and where is the concept found. The human consciousness is constantly functioning under the view that where is it being found. That means people's intelligence and memory, it's arising based on how attention can mobilize around and it engages with it and suddenly realizes the child that it's okay, everything's like constantly conditioned in a known world, but you eventually realize there is no unknown. And the presence of the unknown is far beyond